All right. Well, here with Don Jr., I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm from Southern Utah, St. George,
nice.
near Zion area, and you've got a lot of fans. Your whole family has a lot of fans down there.
Oh, I appreciate it. I love it out there, actually. It's like one of the most beautiful parts of America. And so I used to go down there and mountain bike a lot.
Yes, down in Moab.
And then, down to Moab, and then, obviously fishing and hunting.
Yeah.
Some really good stuff in the area. So I know it well.
Fly fishing up in Provo River.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of great places there. And I'll tell you from my parents' perspective, you're the president's son. From my daughter's perspective, 18-year-old daughter's perspective.
Let me guess, Kai's dad?
Kai's dad.
Oh, yeah, no, I get that a lot these days. I'm like,
right? In my town, I'm Charlie's dad. It's the only way I'm known. My daughter, Charlie's dad.
Yeah, now I get like the boomers want to take selfies with me, and like the young, like cool people I see out there, they're like,
how about your daughter?
Well, can you tell me about Kai? I'm like, what's going on here? What about me?
Yeah, my daughter. Tell Kai's dad I said hi. I'm not going to tell him she says hi.
Okay, well, that was a de facto you said hi. So,
you
get full credit in my book.
I get cool credit. And there's nothing that matters more to a dad than that.
I agree.
For years, I've actually said if I knew nothing about President Trump except for about his kids, I would say he's a winner.
Well, I appreciate that.
As I've listened to you talk today and talk about your dad, he's making America great again. There's no question. I think he's making the world safer. But I look at you and your siblings and his grandkids as his greatest success.
Well, thank you.
That's amazing to me. And watch how fiercely you defend him. And protect him. And it's sometimes hard to do, right? But
no, listen, they have not made it easy, but I think we figured out, really through politics. I mean, business was always tough and whatever, but at least you understood what the other side wanted. You can kind of, you figure that out. Politics is very different, right?
Yeah.
People can go against even their own beliefs and their own feelings because it's like, well, I'm going to end up in some consulting campaign later on. They're just playing a different game. And so, it's frankly much more vicious than, business ever was. But yeah, I guess we figured out pretty quickly when they went after us whether you have the stomach for this or not, and a lot of people don't. For me, it was just like, we're in a fight. We fight. That's what we do. It's they tried pretty hard, and I'm sure they'll try again if they win the House and the Senate. We'll get to the next iteration of impeachments and the next iteration of whatever Russia hoax they make up this time. We'll be dealing with that, but it's what we do.
Well, the Trumps have been blessed with broad shoulders. They carry.
We try.
Yeah, they carry an absolute lot. And now, on a fun note, I want to know if you had only one big hunt that you could go back to, like one for the rest of your life, like one big game hunt that you could go. Where would it be in the world, and what would you be hunting?
Man. So, first and foremost for me, I'm sort of like a mountains guy. So it would be, up in the mountains somewhere. Probably some sort of sheep hunt. Now, if you talk about for the rest of my life, I don't know, because some of the sheep hunts, you're carrying a 60-pound backpack. There's no base camp. There's no cabin you're going back to. You're not
going to be doing it at 85 years old.
You're not doing that at 85. So I want to still be able to do that stuff. So I mean, but honestly, just the sheep hunting would probably be number one. But if you're something you can do a little bit longer, a great elk hunt out in the Rockies or something like that. That's just an awesome hunt. Going back. The time around a campfire is just as good as the time in the mountains, with your friends. That's sort of how I, just decompress and get away from it all. So I've had a lot of great ones in Utah as well. So
good.
Look forward to getting back.
That. Well, this might be top secret information, but I've got to ask for every kid, especially maybe boys or girls, that's dad never will be the president, but wish they were. Have you gotten to fly in a fighter jet?
I haven't yet.
I know. For
I know.
all of the rest of us.
I have a couple offers on the table from some guys that would do it. Then a couple times I was just like shot down because like they were, a lot of the military guys are, let's call it, on the MAGA side they were not on the woke side of things. So they were like, hey, we want to take you up in an F-16, and then if finds out who's showing up in the plane, they're like, you can't do that. You're gonna
come on, your dad's the president. There's got to be something.
I really want to land in an aircraft carrier. My high school was actually a really big feeder school to the academies. It was sort of like a place where if you wanted to go to the academies, you went. I think 25% of my graduating class went to Navy or West Point, and so. Like my roommates were flying F-18s. One was like the number 5 plane in the Blue Angels and stuff like that. So I was sitting there, I'm a pilot myself, so I'm like sitting there like learning how to fly a Cessna, and they're taking like what was then like Motorola flip phone pictures in like in F-18.
Right.
At the time it was maybe get the caption sunset over Afghanistan. I was like, that's so much cooler than what I'm doing right now.
Right. You can think you're the coolest guy at the table until the guy says, "No, I'm an F-18."
Yeah, I'm an F-18 pilot. Yeah, maybe I'm not so cool anymore.
Not cool anymore at all. All right, now I'm not going to hold you to this. But better chance in the future of Don Jr. being president of the United States or Kai Trump being the president of the United States?
I think Kai experienced a lot of this stuff from a young age, so I think she's fairly fairly apolitical. I mean, she spoke at the RNC, but it's because they tried to kill her grandfather 2 days before, and she called me and she was like, "Hey, listen, I want to speak at the RNC." I was like, wow, it was sort of a shocking, but it was really because she was sick of the nonsense. I think she's just a great kid, straight A student, incredible athlete. She's running her own businesses now, and so she's stayed fairly apolitical, but for the nonsense when it's just lies and attacks. So. I don't know that she has it yet, but she's turning 19 next month, next month. I was political. I was a conservative my whole life. I was a big gun guy, obviously. And so even living in the People's Republic of New York at that time, I was still a conservative guy. But I also had no idea that I'd end up on this journey where we're talking about these things. We were real estate developers from New York City. Like you may have your politics, but you shut the hell up and you don't get into
business
it.
To run.
That was a big no-no. So sometimes in life all these things sort of happen, and then all of a sudden you say, well, I got to get off the sidelines, I got to get in the game. So you never know. So right now it's definitely a no from her, but at 19 there were a lot of things I wanted to do.
He didn't say it's a no from him, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't say it's a no from him. My focus
right now is making sure his agenda is as strong as possible, but you never know, one day you may have to get in the game. You can't just talk smack from the sidelines.
Well, I'll be your number one fan and supporter if you do. So
I really appreciate it.
The country could use more Trumps. There's no doubt about it. And I'll just end with this, because I think it is the great equalizer. You are doing huge business deals. You are surrounded by some very influential people, disruptors, and nobody more than your dad. But watching the way the look in your eye changes when you talk about your daughter, watching the way your dad's look changes when he talks about his kids. That's the still, again, I'll end with that. I think it's the greatest accomplishment of the Trump family. So thanks for being a good example to families across the country.
Well, if you can't do it for your kids, what can you do it for, right? I mean, it's sort of like that. Isn't that what we're doing this all for, right? Like, so yeah, no, I think I really appreciate it. It's a great compliment and probably the best thing someone could say.
Yeah. Thanks, Don. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you.